about right.
Okay, well, we've got James with us now just to give us a little update on where we're at with our stages and our protocols. Currently we're working at stage 3 in the behind closed doors, and that's involved a lot of work, James, hasn't it, for you particularly? Do you want to give us a bit of background what's actually going on there?
Yeah, so stage 3 is obviously a return to playing matches without fans, which we've had 2 goes at now. We played Blackpool last Saturday and Accrington Stanley last night. There are a lot of protocols to put in place. It's very time consuming, but it's not difficult, and part of the most difficult thing, which Ian alluded to last night, is actually trying to get our players to abide by the rules. But this is a learning curve for all of us. The problems that we're facing now with trying to educate the players and staff and officials when they come to the stadium is the exact same problems we're going to have when it comes to educating fans. People's journeys to a football ground, whether you've been coming to Hague Avenue for 1 month, 1 year, or 30 years, that journey to the stadium and how you experience is going to be a complete different experience now to what it used to be.
That's stage 3 now. I know, having read some of the protocols, and if anybody wants to read them, they are on the website. We've put them on our COVID statement, is on the website now, so you can catch up with them there. That's stage 3. We move to stage 5, and my goodness, that is a heck of a jump, isn't it, and all the sorts of things we've got to do. Do you want to tell us about what we will need to have in at Southport Football Club to move to stage 5 with fans?
Yeah, so it's all about a totally different journey for the fans. We have a 90-page document that we are currently working our way through, that comes from the SAGA, the Sports Ground Authority, and we have to decide different methods, whether we have seats or terraces, and how we get people in. In terms of access points, we would look at either using the turnstiles but hand sanitise before entry, or we will use the entrance and exit gates. The only issue with using the exit gates is when we are ingressing, if there's then an emergency within the stadium prior to that, how would we then get people back out? So we may have to fall back on to using turnstiles again, but hand sanitising upon entry and hand sanitising after, because when you think about it, 800 people coming in are all touching a turnstile. These are the sort of minute details that we now have to look at in terms of getting people safely into the stadium. And as Ian alluded to last night, we will go OTT with it, but we have such a diverse age group of fans that short of testing, we have to make it as safe as we possibly can for people visiting. Part of that is now allocating seats and the numbers that we can get within the space. So when we look at the Jack Car used to hold 1,014 people under the previous safety certificate. Under the guidelines now, it is 1 square metre per person. That reduces the Jack Car now to just over 20, or just under 20% of 196 people can actually stand in that space. When we look at the main stand, so I refer to it as section A, but that is section that has the S written on it for the SFC. That takes 272 people, normal seats. We have to block off every second row, and the gangways or the stairways aren't wide enough, so we have to mark off every end seat as well. We then have to calculate how people are going to come to the ground. Are they going to come in ones? Are they going to come in twos? Are they going to come in threes? Up to a maximum of the current guidelines is 6 people from 2 separate households sitting together. So if they come in singles in that section, we can only get 40 people sitting in a section that used to hold 272, which is about 14% of that section. Our ideal number is 2s and 3s. That will allow us anywhere between 26 and 30% of that capacity, which is going to take a 1,500 seater stand down to anywhere between 300 and 450 people, depending on how they turn up.
It's a massive reduction, isn't it? It's quite scary, really.
It's a huge reduction, and I think Ian spoke about it last night in your interview with him. It's so important now that if you want a seat in this main stand, the best way to do that is to make sure you have a season ticket or a membership. Once the instalment period ends next week, we will start contacting fans and we will allocate them a seat where they best want to sit as close as we can. Put people on notice, reserve seats that you had last year or the year before, they are gone. We can try to get you close to it as possible, but a reserve seat is no longer going to be an option.
Yeah. So that's the next phase. The people who have already got memberships will be contacted, but what we're saying to people now is try and get a membership and a season ticket to...
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 175 plus, was it 50 odds we had last night, so we're over the 200 mark. If we can only take another 200 in this stand, we've also got the added issue is section F, as I refer to it, which is the section closest to the away fans, closest to the away end, which we normally allocate to away fans. If we have to give that to away fans, that's going to reduce that 450 even further. So it's going to be a lot of reduced space that we have within the stadium. We don't have a full capacity yet. We've yet to calculate the away end, and we've yet to calculate the pine tree gardening stand.
Yeah. It's absolutely huge, isn't it, what we have to do? You mentioned to me just before about entry times as well. Could it be that we're trying to stagger entry times into the ground?
Yeah, so it's all part of the guidelines. Do we bring people in at different times for different sections of the stadium? Do we then, similar to like a European away match like you might see at Anfield, where the away fans are asked to stay behind, we might have to do that. But you know what football's like, a last minute goal goes in, your team are now 2-0 down rather than 1 and you're not fighting it. There's mass exodus out of the stadium. So these are the things that we're going to have to consider in how we manage that. We may have to have masks as a condition of entry, but you only have to wear them when you're moving around the ground as opposed to being in your specific space. We even go far as looking at the road outside. We had the youth tournament at the weekend, as again in your interview last night. Inside the stadium was fine. We could social distance people, there's plenty of hand sanitizers announcement, but outside the street was very problematic. The guidelines now ask us as a football club to lean on fans and ask them to question their whole journey from the football stadium, from their house to the football stadium, and part of that is there's no point social distancing inside when you're all crammed like sardines outside. So we've written to the local authority this morning and asked that between Forest Road and Beatty Drive or vice versa, if we can actually close that off on a match day. We currently have some support from them on the basis that they witnessed how bad it was at the weekend, and that's something that we're going to have to consider. We have to look at the whole environs of the stadium and how we manage people in and out.
You mentioned temperature checks as well. I know as we're coming in at the moment for the behind closed doors games, are they going to continue maybe for supporters even as they come around?
Basically everybody who steps foot in this football stadium will have to answer a questionnaire on symptoms of COVID. Now I'm pretty sure you now no longer read the sheet, you've read it that many times between the home and away games. We may just put that as a condition of entry before you get a ticket, that you are confirming that when you arrive you won't have it. A lot of this is, from the government have passed the stick on to the FA, who have passed the stick on to the National League and are passing the stick to us, and part of it we will pass that responsibility onto the fans. You are confirming that when you arrive that you are symptom free. Unfortunately there are people who are asymptomatic and they won't know, but that's obviously a risk that we also have to look at. But yeah, temperature checks, hand sanitising upon entry will be for everybody until those guidelines are relaxed.
Yeah, it's been a massive challenge for you, hasn't it, to put all this into place?
It has, and I think I've said to some people, I'm not as COVID aware, or maybe my own personal life, but this is about protecting the football club, our players, our supporters and everybody around it. It only takes one person who's in and around the first team to catch it, and then we're all in lockdown for 14 days, and that's going to have a massive implication on our season. So it's about protecting everybody. It's not a job I enjoy. I don't like running about telling people they're in the amber zone and in the red zone, but it's something that we have to do to ensure that we can get fans inside the stadium. We're a football club, we want fans here, and unfortunately it's going to be a different approach for everybody when they come in. We will take a holistic approach to fans who are maybe circumventing the rules or maybe not aware of them, but it'll almost be two strikes and you're out. If you're not abiding by the rules, we will just simply ask you to leave. We're not going to have a return to fans being jeopardised by anybody.
Yeah. I think it's a bit of you've got to be self-aware, haven't you, of what you're actually doing here, and unfortunately you see it around town, some of maybe the younger group do not appreciate what is needed to be done. That's
very much a generational thing. I'm hopefully still in the young age category, so that's why I'm probably a little bit more relaxed about it, but we know the demographic of our fans, that it's an older generation and they have to feel safe coming into the ground and anywhere they are within the stadium. I think it's also worth noting that part of the membership scheme was that you could go between any of the sections. Again, put people on notice that won't be possible. You'll be allocated, and we'll probably ask people where they want to be allocated to. Once in a different world, that COVID's no longer here and the risk is gone, then yeah, we can go back to free movement in and around the stadium.
So what happens next then? We're at stage 3, practicing behind closed doors things now.
Yeah.
We're hoping to get to stage 5. What are we waiting on to give us that allowance to move to that forward?
Yeah, so the government are going to announce today, they put some documents out last night that stage 3, or step 3 sorry, which is just below us, can now start allowing fans, again following the guidance that we're following. So we're hopeful that we're not too far behind that. Based on this, I think the successes that we've had in the closed doors, we have asked if we can run a pilot. We're one of the very few teams at our level to be hosting games at home, so hopefully the National League will allow us to do that, to also see how it works. We've yet to hear back on that, but basically the next step is we now need to start getting fans into the ground. We will submit our stage 5 protocols similar to what we did with stage 3 to the National League. They don't approve them, but they just look over them, make sure they're happy with them, and again it's a bit like passing the buck. We are ultimately responsible for how we manage that on the day. We have some, I think we've got one decent friendly, I would say, at home at the end of next month, 1 week before the season starts, or planned to start on the 3rd of October, and I very much hope that that would be the first time we can start getting fans in. I wouldn't like to think that we would be home in the FA Cup on the 3rd of October and that is our first run at it. I would like to work with reduced numbers prior to that.
Yeah. We, on the very first friendly, we were very fortunate that one of the National League representatives was here, and he remarked how impressed he was with everything. Maybe we'd a little bit gone over the top with some things, but we got it right, didn't we? And that must surely have impressed everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate that, again, I always talk about Everton and we have a good relationship with them. Everything that we're doing is pretty much what Everton put in place for Project Restart in the Premier League, short of testing. So if it works in the Premier League, it can certainly work here. You know, we are obviously at a lower level than the Premier League, but we are fortunate in the environs and the space that we have. Some that maybe, you know, Goodison and Anfield, the bigger stadiums in this area, they will struggle to get people in and out based on the fact that they have tight concourses. We simply don't have that here.
Brilliant. Well done on everything so far, and let's just hope we can get the fans back in. I think that's what we all want at the end of the day.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.